The day I discovered my wife's secret affair, a story I never thought I'd tell. I never imagined I'd sit down one day and record myself telling this story. Honestly, even now, I'm hesitating because it's one of the most painful experiences of my life. But sometimes sharing your truth helps you heal, and maybe it helps someone else out there who's been through something similar. This isn't an easy story, it's raw, it's messy, and it's not something I'm proud of, but it's my reality. So here it goes. This is the story of how I discovered my wife's secret affair. When I first met her, everything felt magical. I know that sounds cliche, but it's true. She was this beautiful, smart, and funny woman who could light up an entire room just by walking in. I still remember the first time we talked. It was at a friend's birthday party, nothing fancy, just a small gathering. But the way she laughed, the way she asked me questions like she actually cared about the answers, I felt seen in a way I hadn't felt in years. From that night on, we were inseparable. We'd stay up late texting, talking about our dreams, our fears, our silly little secrets. I told her things I hadn't even told my closest friends, and when she looked at me, I felt like the luckiest man alive. After a year of dating, I knew she was the one. We moved in together and life felt perfect. We'd cook dinner together, binge-watch shows, and even argue about the dumbest things like whether pineapple belongs on pizza. For the record, it doesn't, but she always teased me about it. When I proposed to her, I'd never been so sure about anything in my life. I remember standing there, ring in my hand, heart racing out of my chest, and when she said yes, I swear I thought my soul was going to burst with joy. Our wedding was small, nothing extravagant, but to me it was the most beautiful day in the world. I didn't care about the decorations or the food or even the music. I just cared about her, standing in front of me, promising forever. The first couple of years of marriage were exactly what I thought marriage was supposed to be. We supported each other, celebrated small wins, and comforted each other during bad days. We talked about building a family someday, about buying a house, about growing old together. Life wasn't perfect, of course, no relationship is, but I believed with every fiber of my being that our love was strong enough to handle anything. But that was before the cracks began to show. Part 2: The First Signs. At first, I didn't notice anything unusual. Life has its ups and downs, right? People get tired, stressed, distracted. That's normal, at least that's what I told myself. But then little things started to change, things I couldn't ignore forever. She used to be so present with me, laughing at my dumb jokes, asking about my day, even listening when I rambled on about work. But slowly she grew distant, not cold exactly, but different, like her mind was somewhere else. I remember one night we were watching a movie together, and halfway through I realized she hadn't laughed once, hadn't even looked at the screen. She was just scrolling through her phone. I asked her if everything was okay, and she gave me this quick, nervous smile and said, "Yeah, I'm fine, just tired." That was the first time I felt it, that pit in my stomach. You know, that instinct that tells you something isn't right. Over the next few weeks, the changes became more obvious. She started staying late at work. She said there were new projects, extra meetings, deadlines. I believed her because why wouldn't I? She was my wife, my partner, the person I trusted the most. But soon, it wasn't just late nights. She began guarding her phone like it was some kind of sacred treasure. Before, she would leave it on the couch or the kitchen counter without a second thought. Now it was always in her hand or face down on the table or tucked into her pocket. And she had a new password. I told myself I was being paranoid. People are allowed to want privacy. But the way she jumped every time a message popped up, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. The intimacy between us started to fade too. She wasn't as affectionate anymore. She stopped holding my hand when we walked down the street, stopped cuddling with me on the couch. Our conversations turned shorter, colder, almost transactional. I remember lying in bed one night, staring at the ceiling while she scrolled through her phone beside me. I reached over, touched her arm gently, and asked, "Hey, is everything okay between us?" She sighed, put her phone down, and said, "Of course, why would you even ask that?" But her tone, it was defensive, almost irritated. That was the moment I realized I was losing her. I tried to convince myself it was just stress, that maybe I wasn't being attentive enough, maybe she just needed space. But deep down in the quiet of my own thoughts, I felt it. Something was happening, something I didn't want to believe. And soon I would find out the truth. Part 3: The Discovery. The night I found out the truth is burned into my memory like a scar I can't erase. It was a Friday. She had told me she'd be working late again, some last-minute meeting with her team. I didn't think much of it at first, but around 9 p.m. I realized I hadn't heard from her since she left that morning. Usually she'd at least send a quick text, but my phone was silent. I tried calling her, no answer, tried again, straight to voicemail. That sinking feeling in my chest grew heavier by the minute. I told myself, relax, maybe her phone died, maybe she's actually busy. But my mind was racing, fighting against my own denial. Around 10:30 I heard her come in. She was trying to be quiet, slipping off her shoes in the hallway. I walked out of the bedroom, and when she saw me, she froze for just a second before forcing a smile. "You're still awake?" she asked, almost too casually. "Yeah," I said, trying to keep my voice calm, "just waiting for you." She went straight to the bathroom, muttering something about being exhausted, and that's when I saw it, her phone carelessly tossed on the kitchen counter, face up, unlocked. For months I had been telling myself not to look, that checking her phone would mean I didn't trust her. But at that moment, my hands moved on their own. The first thing I saw was a notification, a text from a name I didn't recognize. "Can't stop thinking about you, last night was amazing." My stomach dropped. My hands started shaking so badly I could barely hold the phone. I opened the messages, and what I saw shattered me. Dozens of texts, flirty, intimate, detailed, things I couldn't unread, words that used to be ours now shared with someone else. Pictures too, selfies of them together, laughing in a way I hadn't seen her laugh with me in months. A photo of her hand on his chest, another of them in what looked like a hotel room. I don't even remember how long I stood there staring at the screen. My chest felt tight, like I couldn't breathe. My ears were ringing. I think part of me hoped it was some sick joke, some misunderstanding, but deep down I knew this was real. When she came out of the bathroom, she saw me holding her phone. Her face went pale. For a moment, neither of us spoke, just silence, heavy, suffocating silence. Finally, I asked, my voice barely above a whisper, "How long?" Her eyes filled with panic. "It's not what you think," she stammered. But I cut her off. "Don't lie to me, please, just tell me how long." She opened her mouth, closed it, then looked away. And that silence, that was my answer. Something inside me broke that night. Part 4: The Confrontation. I don't know what hurt more, that she cheated, or that she stood in front of me and couldn't even admit it right away. I put her phone down on the table. My hands were trembling, my chest tight. "Who is he?" I asked, my voice low, almost calm, but inside I was on fire. She shook her head. "It's nothing, it's just a mistake." "A mistake?" I snapped. "Mistakes don't last for months, mistakes don't send late-night texts, mistakes don't check into hotel rooms." Her eyes widened. She hadn't realized how much I had seen. For a moment, she looked like a stranger to me, someone I didn't even recognize. Finally, she sat down, buried her face in her hands, and whispered, "I didn't mean for this to happen." That sentence cut me deeper than anything else. Because "I didn't mean for this to happen" meant it wasn't just one night, it meant it was real, it meant she cared for him in some way, even if she wouldn't admit it out loud. I felt rage, sadness, betrayal, all crashing together like a storm I couldn't control. I wanted to scream, I wanted to cry, I wanted to rewind time and unsee everything. "How long?" I asked again, louder this time. She hesitated, then finally said it, "About 6 months." 6 months, half a year of lies, half a year of me cooking dinner, making plans, telling her I loved her, while she was giving pieces of herself to someone else. I laughed, but it wasn't real laughter, it was bitter, hollow. "6 months, I repeated, shaking my head. "You've been lying to my face every single day." Tears rolled down her cheeks. "I was unhappy," she said. "I felt like you weren't really seeing me anymore." That was the excuse, that was her justification. And the worst part, a tiny part of me wanted to believe it was my fault. That maybe if I had done something differently, been more attentive, more romantic, more something, she wouldn't have looked elsewhere. But then I realized, no, problems happen in marriages, yes, but you talk about them, you fight for the relationship, you don't sneak around behind your partner's back for 6 months. I told her that, and she just sat there silent, tears streaming down her face. That night turned into hours of arguing, crying, blaming, begging.